Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Sainato with Real Progressives. Tonight, I have as my guest Zach Haller. And just to let you know, before we went on, we were having a little bit of technical difficulties on Zach's end. For whatever reason, his mic keeps cutting out from what I see. So if you can't hear him, let us know. He might have to drop out. But for now, thanks, Zach, for coming on.
I'm happy to be here. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Zach. All right. Well, this week has been a lot of news about Russia, but not in what we're normally used to with the touting of the smoking guns. Basically, the story in different episodes is blown up in the Democratic Party's face. You had CNN retract an article and fire 3 journalists. And then around that same time, you had actual Democrats saying what Nina Turner said weeks ago, that the Democratic Party needs to shut the fuck up about Russia and talk about actual issues, talk about issues voters actually care about, instead of sensationalizing this narrative as an excuse for Hillary Clinton losing the election, and for an excuse to actually stand for something, for actual policies, so that they don't antagonize their wealthy donors. So Zach, can you talk a little bit about what you saw and what your thoughts are on all these Russia revelations this week?
Yeah, so it's funny because it's almost like it's like undoing, like they're telling now this week that there's all this proof that the news about Russia hacking the election the whole time, as we knew, was bullshit. And so now the news is that the news that you have been hearing for the past 6 months since the election is actually fake, completely fake. And it's just turning everything on its head right now. It's really crazy. But, the mainstream media narrative has been one thing, the independent truth narrative has been another. Finally, now that there are so many breakdowns in the Democratic Party and their media apparatus, people are finally starting to see that the Russian narrative is, as you called it, a branding thing to bring the Democrats under one group without actually talking about any policy, but also a major distraction from the actual election rigging that took place in the Democratic Party with the primary. So it's just, I think that they got this work to just kick the can down the road so they could avoid the Russian narrative, or excuse me, they could avoid the DNC rigging narrative as long as they can. And now everything's just falling apart, and the world is reacting. It's just so recent that, I saw CNN already trying to spin it, and it's just like, they're never going to really the mainstream media is so corrupt that not only is the media not telling us important information, not everything, but many of the leading things that at least CNN and mainstream media is telling us is a deliberate lie for a specific purpose controlled by a political party. So it's like a pretty big kind of bombshell, and the media, of course, is trying to downplay it, but the reactions of individuals, anyone with common sense understands that this is what Donald Trump meant when he said, "You're fake news" to CNN, because it's literally fake news to serve their purpose, not to help the American people understand what's going on, and like people expect the media to be. So everything's turning on its head right now. It's insane.
Well, hopefully I heard most of that, even though there was an echo, so I know people are complaining a little bit about the audio. But just to add to that, CNN and MSNBC in particular. I mean, right now on Twitter, it's trending, and MSNBC hired Brett Stevens, that piece of garbage columnist that the New York Times hired from the Wall Street Journal, that is a climate change skeptic and an overt racist. He now is with MSNBC. They hired Greta Van Susteren from Fox News. They hired NBC hired Megyn Kelly, and that hasn't been working out for them. And MSNBC hired that have really and trying to embrace progressive voices and say, we really dropped the ball during the primaries, and Bernie Sanders supporters, it's a huge demographic. We should really, lend some voices to this movement. They're going in the opposite direction. They said, "Fuck you. Let's go more moderate. We'll get more moderate Republicans, and we'll just embrace the corporate establishment center." With that, and the whole Rush story is a part of that. That's what donors want to hear. That's what all those Clinton supporters, her loyal base, that upper middle class, wealthy, people who are really going out for Hillary Clinton. I saw some random, I think John Sterr was his name on Twitter, was alleging falsely that working class voters voted for Hillary Clinton, and someone debunked that, right off the bat, that Bernie Sanders had those voters who made under $50,000 a year annually. Hillary Clinton made, there's a Jacobin article shortly after the election that wealthy suburbs was her base. Those people were the ones excited to come out, and obviously those people didn't exist and didn't come out in nearly as much as they anticipated. Those blue dog Democrats in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania that Republicans haven't won in decades. It blew up in their faces. So it's really a continuation of that whole trend of catering towards this demographic and acting like this is the center, this is the mainstream, when in reality, this is the top 1%, maybe the top 5 to 10%. These are and you see that in commercials. It doesn't reflect actual American daily life. It makes it seem like the average American is an upper middle class wealthy person, when that's and just going on from that, the Democratic Party, last Friday at 5 p.m. Anthony Rendon in California shot down single-payer healthcare. So now, this week, they've delayed the healthcare vote for Trump care until after the 4th of July. But there's still a huge surge for single-payer, and the center of the establishment, the Democratic Party, is really denouncing it. So, Zach, what were your thoughts on Elizabeth Warren actually coming out and telling Democrats you need to get behind this?
I mean, it's all just kind of empty. It's still just kind of like empty statement to me. It's like everything about this is just kind of the center moving around itself. It's like, where did the Democrats think their luck is going to lie? Being a little more progressive or a little more conservative? And, Elizabeth Warren is the quintessential limousine liberal to me. And the support for single payer, it is the necessary direction, but just talking about single payer isn't enough to actually do anything to reform our healthcare system. And like you mentioned, as we saw in California, you can talk about it and incorporate it into your platform and say all of these things, but we're seeing that it really doesn't matter. All of the conversation, it's, from a federal level, it really just, to me, just sounds like more just talking for the sake of talking and not actually doing anything. Whereas here in Seattle, we've got some really badass socialists, basically Sean Salmon, and a lot of really active workers organizing in the city of Seattle. So we see how things can be impacted on a local level. Not anything healthcare yet, but to me, it's all just talking. It's just windbags. It's like the single payer. You've got just kind of two competing conversations about it, and it just all to me is just obvious games that the 1% wants to just sound like they're talking about it, like they're arguing about it, without actually doing anything. Where's Elizabeth Warren in Massachusetts, home state, on the ground, rallying people to actually make progressive change in Massachusetts from the ground up to compensate for what's not happening in our government? That would be leadership to me. seeing them ramble about it in the grandstand is like the reason the Democrats are losing, is because it's all just empty speech. They're not accomplishing anything, and it's just they feel so sanctimonious criticizing the Republicans like their version is better. The single payer version, there's a lot of problems to it. Not even yet hearing the right things that we need to hear from our leaders on this issue. We're still waiting. Not even Bernie saying anything. So to me, it's just like empty conversation, and we really have to focus on local levels and trying to challenge these leaders to talk about what their home districts should be doing to make sure that even though the federal government's completely unreliable for anything right now, we are still working and using this time on a local level to support politicians and policies that are going to advance local healthcare needs if we can't advance federal healthcare needs. It's just empty talk to me still.
And this week they announced just randomly, Syria. If Assad attacks his citizens with chemical weapons again, we're going to retaliate, as though they were getting ready to, just blame them for another chemical attack again. And a few outlets have noted that Simon Hirsch, he was a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist. He actually, wrote a piece debunking that chemical weapon thing, and he talks through, what his analysis of what actually happened and how that attack actually went down, and what the evidence, as it appears, suggested is. But our Democratic Party doesn't give a shit. In terms of Trump going to war, they either cheer him on or they criticize him in a way that he's not doing enough. Neera Tanden had like a tweet the other day. I bet Putin knows why Trump wants to attack Russians in Syria. That makes absolutely no sense at all. So, Zach, make sense of it.
Well, you actually just drew a really interesting connection in the Democrats' interest in talking about healthcare right now as a way for them to not be talking about regime change in Syria. It's like the Democrats try to construe themselves like these good people, when really it was Barack Obama's Democratic Party that turned it into the party of war. These Democrats all are just completely silent on Syria. Basically none of them, Tulsi's not really even saying enough anymore, are not lodging constant criticisms of our military interventionism, which is a problem. And the only thing they're, right now, the kind of trendy thing to talk about is single payer. And that actually might be, part of the reason they're trying to speak about it, is because if they can talk about single payer, that sounds like a justified thing to be discussing, where they really should be condemning militarism in the Middle East, or in Syria specifically, broadly, but specifically in Syria. And it's just like, where is the anti-war leadership? It just blows my mind. It's just so obvious that all of these people are completely bought out by the military-industrial complex, or one of the entities within it, whether it's a bank or a Boeing or what have you. They're all just totally word on the military interventionism, and that's the thing that puts us most in danger. And it's like, I think that's an interesting connection, that the single payer conversation is probably stepping up now for the first time, partly to give them something not Syria, because they should be denouncing it, but none of them are, and they're clearly tied to them. They're all different, donors that feed their way into their industrial. It's probably related.
Yeah, and that bothers me. We have Tulsi, and she gets a lot of shit, a lot of criticism, and in part it's because she's such an advocate for anti-war. And obviously, the most of the criticism isn't even about her foreign policy. They try to come up with other things, or they did the whole Putin smear when she went to visit Syria with Dennis Kucinich, who actually has done that visit himself several times before, but they didn't really even mention Congressman Dennis Kucinich or Kucinich's record, how he started the Iraq War, anti-Iraq War coalition while he was in Congress, he really led that, and he tried to actually push for impeachment for Bush and Cheney for manufacturing consent based on false information in the Iraq War, which more we have right now to impeach Trump, which has been kind of just a rallying call as part of the faux resistance. Let's just oppose Trump and that's it. I wish they would just get rid of Trump just so they would go back to their brunch, as a famous photo said. If Hillary won, we'd be having brunch right now. That's part of the problem. And so going forward right now, there aren't really any elections in the short term. There's the healthcare thing that's going to be dragged out for a while. So Zach, how should people be able to pay attention? How do we get people to continue to focus, to continue to put their energy in when right now it's like a kind of a political limbo. There's nothing that can be sensationalized that much, or there's no a tangible event for people to put their sights on, their efforts in. There are 2018 congressional elections to start thinking about, and primaries, but even those are a little bit further down the road till that when they really get rolling. So where do people put their energy in now, and how do they sustain that?
It's a great question, and I think the local element still is important, and that folks should, take this time in this down year, 2017, to really focus on what's going on in their local area. And even if nothing is immediately coming here in Seattle, here in the state of Washington, all of the city of Washington, Seattle's going to be crazy. There's going to be other states that have things that are going on here. So folks should definitely look at what they're doing locally and what elections are going on that they can support, even if they can't vote for those elections, they should engage. But I think that people should also, in of thinking of 2018, people should also look about being in their districts, thinking, what do I want to see from my person that person I'm hoping that there's a big movement of non-corporate Congress people that run for office next year. It's sad, but it seems like the Justice Democrats and all these kind of leader groups are trying to present the grassroots candidates. Really, they're just kind of status quo corporate candidates that are going to get their money from the super PAC, so they don't have to receive money from super PACs. Ridiculous. It's the same thing. So I think that people should be anticipating 2018 in the mindset, what do I want to see from my now and then if I'm going to give them my vote? And that will give people enough time to make that decision. And if they're to oppose their congressperson in 2018, they can start using that now to learn what it would be like to help represent their 2018, at least to try and primary whoever's in office, and that I'd say ask for 2018, so it's a safe bet that people should be preparing legitimate criticism of their current person. They can support a grassroots people, knowing that we're not going to be able to rely on just Democrats or branch those groups are basically already. So we're going to all looking for candidates support those.
All right. Well, Zach, we're losing people because of your audio. Yeah, and you cut out a lot more even then. So we're gonna let people go. I think we're gonna end the broadcast. I apologize for the technical difficulties, and hopefully, maybe later this week or next week, Zach and I will try to do something else with good audio. So I know a lot of people are complaining about this broadcast. So Well, we'll see you either later this week or next week. And thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Thanks. Sorry, guys.